Hey, wrestling fans, this is Paul Diamond, and you're listening to Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
Hey, this is Jimmy Street, host of the Live and in Color with Wolfie D podcast. Hear the life and times of professional wrestler Wolfie D. From his time in the territories with PG-13 to his time in WWE, ECW, WCW, TNA, and more. Nothing is off limits and nothing will be held back. Thanks again for tuning in. Here he is, Wolfie D.
What's up, guys? It's Wolfie D, and you know what you're listening to is Live and in Color with Wolfie D and my good friend Jimmy across the street. Man, what's going on this morning?
Not much, brother. You know, how you doing today?
Got nerves on edge a little bit, man. For those people that don't know, we do pre-tape this. So today is actually Wednesday, and then tomorrow morning I got to go have another stent put in my heart. So that's a little nerve-wracking. I didn't sleep not 1 minute last night, and I probably won't sleep again tonight unless I'm just exhausted from not sleeping last night. But
yeah,
it's nerve-wracking, man. Anything to do with your heart, and that shit don't feel too good either when they put that shit in, and
Yeah, no, and it can't, man. And heck, bro, you've got a great excuse to be up all night. I mean, hopefully your mind, you can find something to calm your mind a little bit and maybe get a little bit of shut-eye.
Well, see how it goes, Anything happens to me, y'all will be hearing me from the afterlife on Monday.
Oh, dude. Yeah, let's not joke just yet about that. But at the same time, it's good to laugh. I mean, but hey, listeners, say a prayer if you got one for Wolfie D. He's got this, though. Absolutely. But anyway,
the morbid Debbie Downer stuff and talk about, man, what great numbers we got for the Jamie show last week.
Yeah. So, all that stuff we said to Randy that made him kind of feel bad and good, all that's out the window now. So, So Jamie, I'm not going into the specifics, but let's just say that Jamie not only beat the 24-hour download record, he's already eclipsed the week record. Yeah, that Jake has held and has held since he was on. So, he's way past all of that. Now, Jamie, I just swear, Wolfie, you are usually not like this, but it was funny because I think you knew this was big. You were like, numbers. numbers. And a text would come through in my little Siri, British lady Siri. She's like, numbers. And then anyway, so long story short, you usually will ask me a couple times, maybe the day of and then the day after and there. But this one you were like, numbers, what's it at now? And I usually am weird about it.
It was going to hit it. It was going to hit hard.
Yeah. And I'm weird about it. I'm almost like superstitious about it that I do not like to look until like that evening usually. Right. And then I'll look, the next day, but I couldn't help clicking it, bro. And every time I would click it, it would go up 10. It would go up 15. It would go up 30. Yeah. One time, I swear to you, dude, it was like 6 p.m. I think everybody got off work on Monday that listens or wants to and downloaded it. It went up like 300. And I was like, oh, my Lord.
But in the first whole 24 hours, it was already 2,000, 3,000 or something?
Well, yeah, because it was over it was over 3,000. Yeah. So because it beat Randy's 24-hour. Yeah. And then on the 24-hour mark, it was already nearing Jake. And man.
That says a lot about Jamie, man. People like listening to him. And it also, I think, says a lot about people like listening to me and him. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, this is it, bro. I mean, I think what people think is that this could be the last time y'all are together. And we don't think that's true. We feel like, but I mean, sometimes the way things go, that might be the last conversation that PG-13 ever has publicly. But, we're not saying that. I don't think you think that, but it could be always, Yeah. So anyway, well, we thank you all so much, incredibly much for listening. Thank you, Wolfie, for making that show happen. Thank you, Jamie, dude. Jamie here's the thing. I said it on the show with him, and I said, you are one of the greatest microphone guys of all time. And it's not just like that, you say like, well, Jake's the greatest DDT when Jake's on the show, but of course we believe that all the time.
Right.
Same with Jamie, man. I still feel like he's definitely in the top 10. And if you don't know no. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and I'm talking all time, So anyway.
A lot of times it's off the top of his head, and most of the time it is off the top of his head, and he's quick like that. And
yeah, he is so quick, and that's the other thing, dude. Is like I'm so impressed that you ever got a word in edgewise.
I know, right?
I'm saying, because on the show, it's funny because the way we record, I'm going to give you a little behind the scenes here. The way we record it is all on one track. And I've actually looked into things that record on separate tracks because in certain cases like this would help. But Wolfie would be saying something and Jamie's just going. And it's like, there's nothing you could do to stop him nor get your word in.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
just go ahead and stop and let him keep going.
Yeah. And by that point, and you're such an off the cuff guy too, so by the point that Jamie said that, and sometimes you'd be like, okay, well, you never said I forgot, but I'm sure you just left things back there because you just can't,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You can't enter them in.
A couple of times where I was going, God, what was I just thinking? And he wouldn't shut up for me to throw it out there, and I forgot.
Yeah, well, one thing that I said is if you're listening now because of the Jamie show, definitely appreciate you. But where you been?
Right.
We got 66 episodes. But the cool thing, usually when a big show hits, when we have new listeners, I notice all the shows jumping. And that's one thing that I noticed as well. The first episodes, like the old episodes where we did it over the cell phones and stuff, I noticed those numbers jumping. So I think we did gain some new listeners, and I'm happy about that. So we're glad you're here,
So today, folks, we are going to do our top 10 favorite mask gimmicks.
Yes.
So, this for me, I'm a huge mark for mask gimmicks. I was as a kid. And so I told Jimmy earlier, I said, I could do 20 on this. This was kind of hard to narrow it down to 10.
Yeah.
And some of mine are not going to be, you may be like, some of them for me are nostalgic. And then some of them for me are, more just the way it looks, not
totally.
I was the greatest or anything, but
no, and I will be too. Now this was requested to us, so you guys know that we've been doing the top 10 lists lately, and it's been something that's kind of ignited our fire about talking about wrestling, and reignited, I should say. And this one was requested to us by listener Kinon Brown. So Kinon, shout out to you, man. Thanks for bringing this one up. Yeah, Facebook friend. He brought up a lot of lists, and there were some good ones on there, but this one I think piqued your interest the most. So yeah, man, I think this will be fun. Top 10 mask gimmicks. I'm excited.
Let's take a break and let's come on back and do it.
Be right back after these messages.
With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial, and with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at Marines.com.
Hey folks, to get your official Live It in Color with Wolfie D merchandise, go to ProWrestlingTees.com/Live Wolfie D. Check it out.
If you're listening to Live and in Color with Wolfie D on Apple Podcast and like what you're hearing, go ahead and leave a 5-star rating. And while you're at it, write a review. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you'd like to hear in the future. It's very important to us and always appreciated. Thanks again.
And we're back, and we are ready to do our top 10 mask gimmicks of all time for us. Again, do these lists. We have our own reasons for putting people where we put them, and I'm sure you could make 4 million different lists if everybody did one theirself. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So what I based my list on was a few things. Some of it was just how cool it looked. Did I already say that in that, or was I saying that to you?
No, I mean you're good. Keep going, brother. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So some of them are what the gimmick looked like, because I love those looks. Me and Jamie started watching AAA back in the early 90s when it was on satellite. And, most people weren't watching that, then.
Right.
And we're seeing these guys doing these, cool, amazing moves that now people have taken it to a whole nother level. Very choreographed style. Plus, we wrestled down there. But I just got to see so many of these cool gimmicks, and I just really love the lucha libre look. It's cool to me. Hence the cyberpunk,
dude. Exactly.
So, all right, I'm gonna start it out with now, this one, again, this is just something from my childhood and something I remember. I'm going with the Assassins.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What great matches they had with like the Fabulous Ones and the Rock and Roll and all that stuff, man. They were good.
Yeah, I will not go into it too far because they might be on my list as well. But I will say this. I think that they are a top 10, 100%. Absolutely. Love the Assassins. So
and that vintage mask,
Oh, yeah.
I don't like that too. That style, that shape. I mean, of course,
I do too.
Stuff now is way cooler, but that's just the classic wrestling hood,
It totally is, dude. I mean, God forbid. I mean, and people don't take this wrong way, but God forbid an American wear a hood again. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm saying like Japanese have kind of co-opted it from Mexican wrestling and stuff like that. But man, I tell you, I think a good quality American guy in a hood, and it can be black or white. I don't care about the color. I'm just saying an American style wrestler, wearing a hood, nothing better.
Cool too, because they were like almost the same size and everything. It was hard to tell which one was which. They could do the switch gimmick and all that stuff.
Yeah. And I got a little more information, but we'll talk about that when I bring them up. So,
right.
Yeah, but I love the Assassin. So, okay, number 10 for me. And again, I'm a sucker. Here it is. I'm a Wolfie Mark. Is the number 10 is the Cyberpunks. They're PG-13 under masks because of a loser leaves town match with Bill Dundee. PG-13 were obliged to leave the USWA. They returned shortly after under masks as the Cyberpunks, with Jamie as Ice and Wolfie as Fire. Yeah. And then, after some time, the Cyberpunks unmasked and returned being PG-13. So anyway, long story short, y'all had a good time with that. Tell me this, and I know we covered it possibly in the Cyberpunk show, but was there like an image you had in mind that you could not achieve? Like you had something you were like, man, I see it right now, and you can't get it, or did they do it as close as possible?
Nah, the guy did it. His name was Transformer in Mexico. And he had the coolest outfits, man. And so we just asked him. I drew a picture of both of them, like a little comic style picture of how I wanted them to look front and back. Yeah. And he didn't even measure us. He just made them and brought them to one day, and they fit. And he made them look exactly like what I drew on the page.
Dude, that's talent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's good, man. I wish you could see some pictures of him. Like I said, I've tried to look him up since then. This was 1994, but he had a different name in Japan, and I can't find no pictures of him. But he had some really cool stuff. There's one picture that I have of just like you used to take them to a pharmacy and get them printed out of Mexico of me and Jamie and him. And just one outfit, but he had so many that were really cool.
Oh, dude. I mean, I just thought it was a cool gimmick. I know you said that it didn't really have any Mortal Kombat connotation. It was more power.
It had a lot of, and to be honest with you, I don't think I really thought about it at the time, but I think what helped it with the kids, because, man, we would have them lined up at intermission. We'd be in the ring taking pictures and kids, doing the Polaroids. It's because the Power Rangers were hot right then. And it was very Power Ranger-y.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it was Power Ranger. It was its own thing. Again, I just thought it was a cool gimmick. And hey, I mean, I'm going to put you at number 10 because I'll take it. Yeah.
I'll take it. All right, up to number 9. Very, very similar, different area of the country. The Grapplers.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
I remember the other one's name.
Lynn Denton and the other guy.
And he had the loaded boot. I always liked that old gimmick. stomp the ground and kick them and then fix it back where the ref can't tell.
Right, exactly. You know, my brother and I watched on our show, Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, we did a watch along from Halloween Havoc, and they did Doom, and Doom had the masks on at that point, and they did this loaded mask gimmick.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen, didn't they do that sometimes?
I've seen it. I don't know who, I've seen it more than once, but
okay.
I'm not sure if there was like an originator of it or anything like that. But can you imagine? I mean, think about the concept of that. And that it really, you know, people would buy it, that there was some sort of, you know, heavy object in this boot that had a compartment that when he tapped his toe, it would slide to the front.
Yeah.
And then he slid it to the back.
It's a great idea, actually. And I mean, it makes you believe it's like the loaded glove. It's like the loaded everything. I mean, you know, and then Luger had the steel plate in his arm. I mean, it's all. Yeah. And the other grappler, you're going to kick yourself for this, but it was the dirty white boy, Tony Anthony.
That's right. Damn. You know, my history's not that good sometimes.
It's all good, man.
Stuff because when I was looking at them, I wasn't looking at them like the guys that I know. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Of course.
So it's hard for me to remember them. And I remember being dirty white boy.
And I mean, no disrespect to Tom Renesto or no disrespect to Tony Anthony, but when you think the assassin, you think Jody Hamilton. When you think the grappler, you think Lynn Denton. They just happen to be a part of a tag team that were called the Grapplers or the Assassins, you know? Okay, so my number 9 is way different than your number 9. And hey, I love it. So this is good. So my number 9 is a guy named Rey Fenix. Now, this guy is actually might be the only real new or current guy on my list. But this guy, honestly, Wolfie, is one of my very favorite wrestlers. You know, when you said early on that training for wrestling was really easy to you because you just had a good control of your body and you could take it where you wanted it to go. Yeah. To me, Rey Fenix is just exactly that. He has this cool talent. He's innovative. He's got this swagger about him. He actually will walk out sometimes and act like he's drunk, like staggering, but he's so in control of his body that it looks damn cool, man. And so, like, he originally started his career in the Mexican independent circuit in 2007. He actually signed with AAA in 2011. He's actually currently signed to AEW and AAA at the same time. I guess they got some kind of deal worked out where he is a double champion as the Latin America and World Cruiserweight champion. In AEW, Phoenix currently holds 1/3 of the trios title with the Death Triangle stablemates. He's with Pac and his brother Penta El Zero Miedo. Now, Penta is also very talented, has a super cool mask. I'm sure you've seen a picture of him. He's got the like skull face. He's got the missing.
I've probably seen it. I can't think of it right off the top of my head though.
No, it's cool, man. You would love that gimmick though. And he and his brother Penta are the Lucha Brothers. They are actually one-time AEW World Tag Champions, and in addition to this, super talented, very innovative, and got great swagger. Honestly, I really think if given the right push, Rey may end up being one of the all-time Mexican greats, in my personal opinion. So, very talented.
There's a good plug for him. Let's go to my number 8. And I used to love this gimmick, man. And then the guy ended up being in a gimmick that you'll recall that I don't like. And we know the reason is because I'm a Road Warrior guy. But it was the Masked Superstar, and who later became Axe of Demolition. And I no hating on Demolition, but when I was a kid, they were Road Warrior ripoffs to me.
Exactly.
Anyway, Masked Superstar, I really enjoyed his work as that gimmick.
Oh, yeah. Bill Eadie, man. I mean, here's the thing. I've joked about this before. I'm going to say it here because it'll work. Now, no disrespect to Bill Eadie, but here's why the Road Warriors were better, okay? If you take off the face paint of the Road Warriors, they're still looking badass, right? Yeah. If you take off the paint of Demolition, they look like your high school shop teachers. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And again, no disrespect to Demolition, because I think Bill Eadie and Barry Dorso are badasses in life. Yeah. And I've heard they're great guys. Yeah, so you've worked on shows with them before, right?
Yeah, for sure. Bill, I can't remember if I was.
Yeah.
bury it all. But yeah, man. And he used to do that. And a lot of guys don't do it no more. Or at least I hadn't seen it in a long time. But instead of the clothesline, big Steiner, Road Warrior line, whatever, he did that sit out clothesline.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And Randy Savage used to do that sometimes too. And those are really the only two people that I saw use it frequently, but I always thought that looked good.
It does, man. And dude, the Masked Superstar was a legend in the Carolinas, man. His feuds with Paul Jones and all that. I mean, dude, he was a legend. And dude, that was, I'd say at one time was probably one of the more popular masked gimmicks as the baby face. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to be the Masked Superstar, you got to be a great wrestler. And then he did the demolition gimmick, which gave him a totally different run nationally.
Yeah.
So nothing wrong with that. So, I feel like our lists are kind of going in the opposite direction, but I like this. So my number 8 is Ultimo Dragon. He's a Mexican-Japanese pro wrestler and actor. He won the J Crown, a unification of 8 lower weight division titles from various international promotions. I think at that time he held like 10 titles. And that, I think that's a record still to this day. This was sometime in 96, I believe, to 97. He actually held all those titles. I mean, dude, can you imagine going through airports with 10 titles?
Hopefully the company will hang on to him for him.
You would hope, right? But I think I remember him walking around WCW with all those belts.
Some places, I know, like, USWA and stuff. There was a lot of times I didn't carry. A lot of times I did carry my tag belt, but it seems like there was other belts that they wouldn't let you take with you. They didn't really, honestly, because when me and Jamie started winning those titles, they were red still, and they had a plate missing, so they didn't really give a fuck about those belts. They'd been treated like shit. And then when Randy got in and the push really began is when they changed it to black and redid them.
Those red titles are beautiful, though, man.
Yeah.
I know they hold a special place in your heart for sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the black titles look great. To me, because if I'm not mistaken, I think we had a listener point that out, that they actually started out on black leather and they came from the Fullers in Knoxville. I could be wrong about that, but he actually sent in a picture showing a picture of you and Jamie standing beside. It was Ron Fuller and the big tall cousin. Buckhouse Bunk. He's standing there and they are wearing the same titles. It's just on a black leather strap versus y'all's being on red. So I feel like maybe they were black and then they went red and then they went black again. But who knows? Anyway.
You know who you could ask? Randy Hales.
I know.
No.
I'll write that down. Anyway, but yeah, long story short, I was just curious because I think I remember you saying that you all had left the USWA titles at home when you went to WWE because you didn't think they would be, you just thought they would be a waste of time, right?
Yeah, and we were supposed to have them and we did not. Nobody told us.
Where's the belts at?
Walk to the ring, and Vince McMahon says they are the USWA Tag Team Champions, or so whoever the announcer was.
Right.
And what if belts?
What if Vince was planning to do a Buddy Wayne on you? What if you daggone prima donnas?
Yeah.
Anyway,
so we just thought, no, they're not going to let us do that because that was back too when, like, until the Monday Night Wars. They didn't mention each other.
Exactly.
And nobody would mention nobody. So
yeah. To go back to that, Ultimo Dragon was a big part of those. He was one of the great cruiserweights during those Monday Night Wars. But anyway.
Yeah, he was damn good.
He was, man. He was.
Look good. All right. So number 7 for me is Psychosis. I thought he was a hell of a worker. The gimmick looked good. That hair. Totally. Going around, but he was a really good worker too, though. And that's kind of what made me put him up as high as I got him.
Did you ever work on any shows with him?
He was, I think he was at WCW.
Yeah, probably was. To me, you're exactly right. He was a very talented guy. I know that WCW went through an era when they tore off all their masks, and it was just like, what?
Yeah.
I know they were trying to make them real,
right?
Dude, I just you're cutting their guts out. You're cutting their.
We'll get to more of that later.
Yeah, we'll get to more of that. That makes sense. Number 7 for me. He's big, he's bad, and guess what? It's time. Big Van Vader. So he worked for New Japan, WCW, WWF, All Japan, and Noah during the 90s and 2000s. I mean, actually, I think people have said this, that he's regarded as one of the greatest super heavyweight pro wrestlers of all time.
Yeah.
And overall, he's a 15-time world champion. You know, when we get into his masks, I mean, his masks, I think, were pretty simple and, you know, really didn't cover a lot.
I like that, the big thing that he wore that blew the smoke out. That he would take, like the shoulder pad deal. That was really cool. It's, as far as his mask, for me personally, I think that's probably the reason I did think of him because of that thing, but then I was like, oh, he really don't have a mask.
Right.
You can 100% tell what he looks like. You know what I'm saying?
It's like when you see a girl in a G-string. It's like, yeah, ain't hiding a lot there, big man Vader.
And honestly, man, I don't know why, but I was just, and this is another kid thing, I was just never high on Vader. I never really thought he was that good myself. But then once I get in the business, obviously, I understand now and know things. And plus, he rolled over on Jamie and tried to hug him in his sleep or whatever. Yeah, we should have got him to tell that story.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Everybody's in the dressing room at WWE, and I guess they were kind of close to each other because everybody, put their bag behind your head for the pillow, and then Jamie came running out of the dressing room, and I forget who was standing around, and he's like, Vader just rolled over and hugged me, started humping me. He says it like Vader was dreaming and rolled over and put his arm around him. I guess like threw his leg away. I don't know, but Jamie got up, ran out of there. So that's another Jamie story. I wasn't there. I didn't see it, but I was there when he ran out of the dressing room with his his story there.
Scared to death because, I mean, if Vader's the kind of guy that if he wants it, he could have probably took it, right? So anyway, 2022, he was put into the WWE Hall of Fame. Again, it wasn't necessarily for his mask, but dude, that diving moonsault was pretty badass.
That's pretty impressive, but Bam Bam had already done it.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. And, hey, gotta love Bam Bam, but he didn't wear a mask. So.
No. He tattooed his mask on top of his head.
He sure did. Good for him. What was his name? It was like Crusher. What was he in Memphis? It was Crusher something. Anyway, not a big deal. Yeah.
All right. So we're at number 6. My number 6, another kind of kid thing that I just thought this guy looked really cool because there was really no mask like that in this time frame here, is Tiger Mask. And we both know Tiger Mask could work his ass off too. But that mask, and I don't know, something about it, looking like a tiger with the fur. And it was just really cool looking mask. His capes were cool and he could go. So. Oh yeah,
totally. So tell me this: Tiger Mask was in that era of the later Dynamite Kid, early Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero period, right? When those guys were kind of coming up, and then Dynamite was kind of like their idol, basically, and Tiger Mask, was their other idol, essentially. Tiger Mask is definitely one that I should have put on this list, but again, I kind of went with my favorites. I just don't know as much about Tiger Mask.
Yeah.
And I am on 2 different wrestling podcasts, and I don't know enough about that. But anyway, I need to figure that out. But anyway, Tiger Mask is great, and I've heard millions of great things about him. So, yeah, great choice for sure. And you're right. I like the way that it looked like a tiger,
Yeah.
It was a great mask.
Tiger Mask.
Exactly. Duh. Well, my number 6, Wolfie D. This one is the reason probably why I didn't put the Masked Superstar on here. Is I went with the spoiler, Don Jardine. So he's 6'5", 300 pounds. Yeah, spoiler alert. He was the Super Destroyer in my area. And, he was a Canadian guy, but he was best known for being the spoiler or the Super Destroyer. Jardine was a major star in various promotions. He worked in the Fed, first in 74 and again from 84 to 86. But honestly, to me, he probably had his biggest in the NWA when he was working in Florida and Georgia and big time wrestling. I think he ended up in World class. And then, but literally he wrestled from the early 60s to the mid 80s. The one thing that I think about Don Jardine too is how much Undertaker borrowed from him.
See, I've not seen, and that's the reason I didn't put him on my list, because the name obviously is kind of legend with masked wrestlers in those days. But I didn't put him on there because I didn't get to see him enough, and you know, he wasn't around here a lot that I can recall anyway. But
and
I think most people, like, I'm not saying to the level of Hulk Hogan, but non-wrestling fans, I think they may not know exactly who he is and what he looks like, but if you were to say the spoiler in conversation or something, they would probably know that was a famous masked wrestler. Wouldn't you think?
Oh yeah, totally. He's definitely one of those, like the Assassin and like the, you know, those names that just stand out as a masked wrestler. Right. I love the name, the Spoiler. I love the Super Destroyer as a name too, but I like the Spoiler better, even though he was Super D in the Carolinas. But I didn't get to see as much of him in his heyday, you know, in the 70s. That's, you know, those guys that are a generation older than us. Those are the guys that really got the 70s wrestlers. And again, nothing wrong with 70s wrestling. In a lot of cases, it's very good to watch for fundamentals.
Sometimes it's even better.
Yeah, it is. But at the same time, my mentor, Kenny Steele, was a huge Super D fan, and he made me go watch a bunch of stuff. He was like, look at this, watch this. This is really good. And I would go watch a lot of his stuff just to see something different. So I got to know him after the fact. You know what I mean? Yeah. But anyway, great stuff. Loved it. So, you know, that's number 6. I say, well, we do this. You want to take a break real quick?
Sure.
And then we'll come back with 5 through 1. That work?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Hey, come back with your mask on this time, okay?
Right.
After these messages.
Let's take a quick time out and get a word from one of my dope-ass sponsors, and we'll be right back with more Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
Support for Live and in Color with Wolfie D is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped recently launched the Ultimate Men's Hygiene Bundle, the Performance Package. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code WOLFIE at manscaped.com. If my math's correct, that's about 8 million balls.
Hey folks, this is Wolfie D here, and if you are looking to buy or sell a home in Tennessee or Southern Kentucky, you're going to want to call my buddy, the rock star realtor, Benji Bowie. And you say, Wolfie, how do I get in touch with this rock star? Well, you can call him directly at 615-390-8216. You can go to his website, bowiehomes.com. That's B-U-I-E homes.com. Or you can email him at benbowie34@gmail.com. When you need a home, you need the Rockstar Realtor.
Benji is a member of Exit Realty's Garden Gate team in Gallatin, Tennessee.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Getting engaged is a moment worth cherishing. A one-of-a-kind ring that you design at Blue Nile can help your love sparkle. Just choose your diamond and setting. When you've found the one, you'll get it delivered right to your door. Finding the right engagement ring can be nerve-wracking. At Blue Nile, you'll have the expert guidance needed and a diamond guarantee that ensures you're getting the highest quality at the best price. Cherish all of life's moments and save up to 30% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
All right, we are back, and Jimmy, why don't you start this time with your number 5 selection?
Oh, well, that's very kind of you, Wolfie D. I thought the people might be tired of me talking, but I'll go ahead. So my number 5, he could be number 1 on a lot of people's list. I thought his mask was one of the coolest of all time. He's probably one of the most, in Japanese Mexican lore, he's probably one of the most popular wrestlers of all time in Jushin Thunder Liger. So I loved his mask. He's one of he's actually one of the longest tenured members of New Japan. He's literally wrestled since his debut in 1984 until 2020. So dude had a career.
Yeah. He was kind of like, damn it. I just thought of one, man, that I'm going to say this name because I bet you it's not on your list and it's not on mine, but Jushin Thunder Liger was like Lasertron to me. Do you remember Lasertron?
Dude, I loved Hector Guerrero, right?
Yes, I loved Lasertron. Loved him.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, I know Lasertron was on TV probably a little more over here than Liger, but it was kind of like that special, he's coming on, I want to watch him. You know what I mean?
Totally. Lasertron was dope, and I'm kicking myself for not having him on the mat. Me too. So, I mean, I just remember him popping up, and he was working as a buddy to Jimmy Valiant, who, to be honest, never a huge fan of Boogie Woogie Man. Not saying he's not a great guy or anything, you know. I just hated I don't know. It was like him and the Road Warriors. Who are you going to pick? You know,
too much comedy for you, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, but if we're talking Charlie Brown, you know,
he wasn't as comical as it became.
Oh no, totally
80s stuff, you know. But I mean, he was such a. It's funny. I don't want to say funny. Funny is not a good word for this, but. To look at him now and to look how he looked back then, it's like, is this the same person?
I know.
I mean, I know he's gotten old, but I mean, he was a big man.
He was a big man, and he still has the height, but his size has gone way down. But anyway, to get back to Jushin Thunder Liger, it's cool. Did you know that his gimmick was based on an anime series?
It looks like it.
Yeah, it does, right? And literally was created from that. He became Jushin Thunder Liger, and he like tore the junior heavyweight division apart. And what's cool, man, is one of the first matches I remember seeing of Liger in my younger days was the very first match on Monday Nitro where he wrestled Brian Pillman. And dude, they tore that mother down, man.
I believe it.
Dude, Pillman.
I probably saw it.
Yeah, you probably did. And then, of course, WWE, oddly, and not bad. It's not a bad thing. I just think there's a few more people to go in before him, but they put him in their Hall of Fame in 2020. And he actually just had his retirement match in January of 2020 at Wrestle Kingdom 14. So 35 years after his career began, he retired. So anyway, that was Liger. I just thought Liger was one of those guys that you would hear about growing up as a wrestling fan, but you never really got to see. And then when I finally got to see him, I was like, holy crap, this guy's great, you know? So.
Yeah. I mean, it was just so different because you didn't have YouTube to look anything up on, or, you know, you just didn't. And unless it was a still picture in one of the magazines, you know?
Yeah.
That's really good to see him.
So like your gimmick of Airwolf, the idea obviously made sense with your name, but you were kind of thinking of as a high flyer. Like at that very moment, even being as young as you were, who would you say at that point, and I know maybe not on down the line, but who would you say at that point was your biggest, you know, like
masked wrestler
influence? No, I'm just saying as Airwolf, you know.
Oh man. I mean, like I said, I tried to mimic Randy Savage. If somebody did something that looked good, I wanted to make it look like theirs, but then I had a whole bunch of different stuff that wasn't just that one person. You know, see some people that try to be one person and you're like, he wrestles just like so-and-so. No, I wanted, you know, different stuff. So I just kind of would pick from the different people that I liked. And if I didn't do it good, that's why I said always watch myself instead of people. I did that too a little bit, but not like on tape. But I just learned in the ring. But if it didn't look good, I'd take it out.
That makes sense. No, that's good because course correction means a lot. I've done it through this podcast a whole lot. But anyway, all right, man. You're number 5. So.
My number 5 is the Ding Dongs.
Oh, dude.
I'm totally just kidding. I'm totally just kidding. I just wanted to see what you pop for that. All right, so my number 5, and the reason why now I'm getting into people that like not solely on looks, but success, I guess maybe you would say, in the business. So my number 5, and you might think, why is he all the way down at 5? And I'll tell you why. It's because it killed me when they unmasked him. I'm talking about Kane.
Oh, yeah.
I hated bald-headed Kane. I just didn't like that. The mask made that shit, man.
It did.
That costume was fucking cool.
So I wonder why they did that. Was it just to try to progress the character, maybe?
Maybe just
that movie he did?
Or like maybe that too, but also like the rejuvenate thing, kind of like we were talking about with the Undertaker and doing the American Badass thing and shit like that. So it don't get stale. Maybe is what they were thinking. I don't know.
Sure, you becoming Slash, that thing. I get that, man. But I totally agree with you. He's on my list too. But honestly, you're right. That really hurt it.
Well, I don't know that it hurt it per se.
It did though.
I personally was like, don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, he may have been more successful, but in my opinion, it hurt it. That's what I meant. So
it didn't look as cool, that's for sure.
Yeah, totally. And it didn't. And his mask to me was so cool. And dude, yeah, it was original. It made you feel like his face was really burnt under there.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right, dude. I mean, I'll get to him in a second, but
all right.
My number 4 is, and this dude, I don't know a ton about him, but I know how this one is kind of like the critics pick. Does this make sense? Like, I feel like to throw him on here is just because if I don't have him on here, I pretty much can't have many of these other guys.
Yeah.
Is El Santo. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Let me say this on him. He was how they kayfabe so much, the Mexican guys. He was buried in his mask.
Right.
That's dude. Some of these dudes, man, in Mexico, they run for office and be sitting in their suits with their mask on and stuff. It's like, he's something kayfabe, buddy.
That is kayfabe at the max right there, dude. And if you think about it, I mean, I've heard, like people would say like Mil Mascaras. Ric Flair said that he saw Mil Mascaras one time without his mask. And it was just like, he didn't know who it was, but he realized who it was once he saw it. But Mil would even shower in his mask. And I mean, I know that's not as crazy as running for office in a damn mask, but still, that shows you. So he was a Mexican luchador, actor, and folk hero. El Santo is one of the most famous and iconic Mexican luchadors and has been referred to as one of the greatest legends in Mexican sports. His wrestling career spanned 5 decades, from 1934 to 1982, which he became a folk hero and a symbol of justice for the common man. Basically, it sounds like he was like Lone Ranger, Yeah, and he's been in movies and comic books telling fictionalized stories of El Santo fighting for justice. He starred or co-starred in at least 54 movies. And
so let me ask you this. That's your number 4, right?
That's my number 4. Yeah.
With all that we just said about it, and I'm not knocking the decision because I don't even have him on my list. I do have him written down as a side note, but why 4?
Yeah. I mean, here's the reason. Honestly, I just don't know enough about him personally as a wrestler. I mean, he could easily be number 1, and number 1 would be no issue. But he's almost so far out of time in my perspective. Right. He wrestled until 82, and I remember watching my first match in 84 or 85. Anyway, long story short, you're right. Number 4, it's an argument there, but my number 3s, number 2 and number 1, I feel like, in my personal opinion, are more than him. So, yeah.
We'll probably start hitting some doubles here in a minute.
Yeah, pretty soon. Yeah.
So, my number 4, are we ready for my number 4?
Yes, sir.
All right. My number 4 is the Midnight Rider.
Oh, dude.
The reason I say that, man, because I always liked it when they get beat and come back under something else, and obviously Cyberpunks. I just liked it when they did that. But obviously being Dusty in a hood and the music.
Let me tell you something. Yeah.
I mean, it was cool, man.
Well, okay, so we had Charlie Brown from Out of Town. That was Jimmy Valiant, right? Charlie Brown from Out of Town. Then we had the Cyberpunks, of course. We had the Midnight Rider, but Dusty also did that tag team with Magnum as the James Gang or the James Boys. And it was Frank and Jesse against the Midnight Express. But the Midnight Rider, dude, is the first time I remember anybody doing that. Now, again, I know it had happened before and it happened later. But in my personal perspective of wrestling, I was so tempted to put the Midnight Rider on here, but I just did not know if it like qualified enough. But dude, it's great.
Because A, it's Dusty and it's a gimmick and it was over. I mean, Dusty is great.
He'd bring the horse out. He would do like shots of him at a fire, like he's out in the Old West.
What was the one Dutch did? What was his name?
Oh man,
Texas Dirt. What's that?
Texas Dirty Red or Texas Dirt? Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's it. Yeah,
and then Coco did Stagger Lee.
Stagger Lee. Yep. And again,
I don't think of any other ones that got beat and had to come back under.
Hogan did Mr. USA. But that was much later.
It was also oh man, there's another
one of the Machines.
The Machines, man.
Dude, I know. Yeah.
I told you we could have done a top 20 on this.
I know. The Machines were great because they were Giant Machine was Andre. Mm-hmm. I think Bill Eadie was a machine. I know so. I think he was like Super Machine. Then Hogan was Hogan or Hulk Machine or something. Blackjack Mulligan was one. Anyway.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Machines were great. And anyway, that's a definite good gimmick. Now, okay, my number 3 is, you've already said it. It's your number 5, I believe, right? Did you say Kane was number 5? Yeah, I mean, the Big Red Machine, Glenn Jacobs, the mayor of Knox County.
Yeah.
Fix them potholes. A 3-time world champion. He's held the WWF, ECW, and World Heavyweight Champion 1 time each. He's a 12-time tag team champion, WCW tag champion, and WWE tag champion with, various partners. 2-time Intercontinental champion, a Money in the Bank winner, as well as the 3rd man to complete the WWE's Grand Slam. Ric Flair dubbed him as one of the best big men in the world, which is kind of vague if you say that. Like, it's like one of the best. It's okay, well, how many are we putting him in one of? But anyway, if Rick says you're one of the best of anything, that's a freaking compliment,
Yeah.
Big Show dubbed him as the best big man ever. I don't know. We'll see. Kane holds the record for most appearances in a Royal Rumble match at 20, as well as the highest cumulative total of eliminations at 46. Now, I know you're going to say something, and I'm going to let you talk, but I just remember one of the first things about him coming out as Kane, he had that one arm showing, and he had a tricep that I swear you could have eaten a bowl of soup out of.
He's a big boy, man. Glenn used to drive this when he was in Memphis. He used to drive this little bitty car, and when Kentucky Fried Chicken had the rotisserie chickens, he would. I swear to God, the car was like piled up the inside with fucking boxes of those things, man. Where he'd eat them, just pitched them in the back or pitched them next to him and shit. Some bitch could eat some chickens.
I bet he could. Hey,
he's also the Christmas creature.
Yeah.
Some may not remember that. And he was Unabomb.
Yeah.
More than one Masked Gimmicks. So.
Totally. And the Unabomb was my first time noticing him. I didn't know about the Christmas creature until much later.
I bet he wished they would have put a fucking paper sack over his head when he was Isaac Yankem.
Oh, bro.
Bless his heart. That's here. We'll do this to you. Okay,
Kane, keep up the good work. Fix them potholes, and we're good to go, brother. Yeah. Anyway,
there's not much more to say on him, because I said him too. So
yeah, you're good. You're number 3.
Is it my turn again?
Yes, sir.
And we're at number 3.
Yes,
and there's
sir.
Another one. You've already said this one. We talked a lot about him. Was Jushin Thunder Liger. That's my number 3.
Yeah, dude, a living cartoon character, and. One of the ones that if you were to say, go out there and work this guy, he's going to go out there and work an incredible match and look super damn cool doing it. So,
yeah, super cool.
Yeah, super cool. All right. So my number 2, I feel kind of weird saying it now that you called me out on El Santo, but I'm still sticking with it. He was your number 10 and my number 2, the Assassin, specifically Jody Hamilton, but definitely the Assassins. You know, obviously they're a masked team from the 60s to the 80s. Jody Hamilton, the original Assassin, was a member throughout the various incarnations of the team. He was the mainstay, whereas, you know, he had Tom Renesto for the majority of it, but they actually had Roger Smith, not sure who Roger is, Randy Colley, you know Randy, Hercules Hernandez was a assassin. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, bro. And a guy named Ray Fambro. So Jim Ross stated that the Masked Assassins were the greatest tag team that he ever saw. I personally got to see Jimmy Valiant wrestle Jody in a show in Council, Virginia in the mid 80s. And one thing that Jody is not known for, and it doesn't really mean anything about his damn mask, but he opened up the power plant for WCW. So that's like the OG performance center. So seeing him in real life was a trip, dude. When he wrestled Jimmy Valiant, it was crazy because he was older, he was smaller. I just remember seeing that he was old through his mask. You know what I'm saying? And I feel bad for saying that, but I've always loved that style of look of mask. And yeah, anyway, that's my number 2. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but that's tell me, did you ever know Tom Renesto at all?
I know Tim. I never knew Tom. And I know a couple people that have known him, but I don't really know a lot about him, if that makes sense. So what are we, number 2?
We're at number 2. For you.
My number 2, the Conquistadors. Just kidding again. Okay. Rough and Ready. No, just kidding. No. My number 2, and the reason I put him at 2 was, again, because they unmasked him. And I wish he never would have been unmasked. And that's Rey Mysterio Jr.
I knew you were going to say that. I can't imagine what your number 1 is, honestly. But yeah, Rey Mysterio Jr. I mean, what more can be said? So I'm just, you know, since
watch Triple A before, you know, it got here, and we're seeing this dude down there. And he's like, man, look at this shit, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say it since you made him number 2. He's my number 1. Rey Mysterio Jr.
I had a feeling we was going to be right there somewhere.
Yeah. I think you get it in your head. You're like, Jimmy's going for Undertaker on the horror list. I'm going to make him my number 2 to show him he's a bitch. No, just kidding.
Maybe unconsciously I'm going, okay, I don't want us to have the exact same list.
Of course. And I don't want that either. But I can count on you.
Truthful on my picks. I really am.
Oh, I know you are. And I'm not questioning that. But here's the thing. Rey Mysterio is why I think he's the greatest masked wrestler of all time. His talent, his longevity, and innovation. Dude, he started out like the same age as you, basically, or maybe even younger. A lot of people throw him in the greatest of all time list, but I don't know about that. But he is very good in that, very high in that list, you know.
Rey's, not only is he one of the best masked wrestlers, luchadors, he's one of the best professional wrestlers ever.
Oh, totally. He's credited for popularizing cruiserweight wrestling, and honestly, he's one of the reasons I was so interested at that time. He's a nephew of Rey Mysterio Sr. He began wrestling in 89 at age 14 on the indies before signing with AAA in 92. He spent some time at ECW, and then he departed to WCW in 96, and that's where he literally became a superstar. He helped popularize Lucha Libre in the U.S., which led to the rise of cruiserweight wrestling divisions. So at that time, it was widely known that WCW had better undercard matches than their main events. Whereas, you know, he was a several-time heavyweight champion, actually 2-time. He was cruiserweight champion 5 times, world tag champion 3 times. And again, I agree, they took his damn mask off. It's stupid. You know, he's literally a multi-time champion, one of the greatest of all time, and just leave the damn mask alone, you know? So,
oh, man. Yeah, I wish they had done that. All right, so my number 1, and the reason, because we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, Mil Mascaras. And the reason I say that, it's really not, it's for his, like you were talking about El Santo.
Yeah.
Mil was a little bit after that.
Right.
And that was kind of a masked wrestler that I saw in magazines and things. Obviously, he didn't come to Memphis, I don't think. Maybe if he did, it wasn't many times. But like you were saying, Flair said he never saw him without it. And at one time he showered with it. He fucking wore it everywhere. Do you realize how hard that is to do?
Oh, I'm sure.
Let the boys see you, not let nobody see you ever without your fucking mask on for that many years. He gets my number one because the dedication to concealing his identity, man. I mean, that's
totally.
Man, because I know how hard that is to do. I did wear a mask for a little bit. Even though people knew who it was, you still, I've rode in the floorboard of cars before riding with the heels, back when kayfabe was a thing. But, for him to kayfabe like that, man, it blows my mind. It really does.
Can you imagine how hot it would be to have that on all the time?
Yeah,
I mean, and those Mexican masks aren't necessarily thin paper. They're pretty thick, and some of them are almost quilted,
Depending on the design, you may not have a lot of breathing room in there.
Right.
Like the Cyberpunk mask has 1, 2, 3. I'm looking at it. It's in my thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's got 4 slits for the mouth that are very small, and then 1 small slit for the nose.
Don't lie, you're wearing it right now. I said, don't lie, you're wearing it right now.
I got it on for this episode.
It's like in your face, Jimmy. Where's your mask gimmick? So, okay, yeah, you're right on that. Mil Masker's definitely, he should have been on my list, but I felt like I gave the nod to El Santo on that one, being that he's the OG, but Mil, for sure. I guess one thing that I heard about him that kind of soured me on Mil, and it has nothing to do with his character, his mask, or anything, was that he was just a dick. And
I've heard that before as well.
Mick Foley said he was a dick. And honestly, if Mick Foley thinks you're a dick, guess what?
That's pretty bad.
You're a dick, I mean, if Mick thinks that, come on. I mean, Mick's known as the nicest guy, right? I mean, so.
Was that Mil Mascaris that Foley took that bump as Cactus Jack on WCW where he drop kicked him off the apron and he flat backed it on the ground?
Yes, that's him.
I remember that bump because you weren't seeing bumps like that then.
No.
He flat backed it off the apron.
Can you imagine?
And I want to say there wasn't no pads down there.
No, because Bill Watts pulled them all.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
let me tell you something. People that question some of the things in wrestling, I promise you that fucking hurt. But then, hell, his most famous bump is 300 feet in the air going off the cage.
Bro. So all right. So yeah, let's just go to that bump. I want to talk about that for a second. So you've taken big bumps. I mean, you were known as a bump guy. In your mind, what are you thinking when you do that drop like he does? Do you just do it and let gravity take?
You talking about off the top of that? I've never done anything that high. I've gotten on top of the cage, and I always do the front flip. I've done that off the top of the cage, and it's that's a long way down too. Not near what he did, but there's a certain height that you get to that when you start coming down, you can hear the wind pick up by your ears. And I'll say that, off the top of the cage like that, it's like you jump and then it's like, then you hear the bump. But it's like you can hear the wind going by your ears. And that's when you're up pretty high.
Yeah. So here's the thing, man. We went to the beach, I think, when we graduated high school in 96. And I actually jumped the bungee jump that did it from the ankles. Like the old school one before they put it at the waist and all that. And I did that. And now you couldn't pay me to get on an elevator that's too tall. I'm telling you, man, I don't like heights anymore. Have you
heights? Never liked heights. But for some reason, I sit there and I say that, but I've done dives out of the balcony. I've done top of a cage. For some reason, the adrenaline and see, for me, it's like, there's a certain height that's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Other heights that's going to kill your fucking ass.
Right.
I don't like those kind.
Yeah, the heights that kill you, totally different than the heights that hurt. But the heights that it's like levels of hurt and then dead and then obliterated and then they're scraping you off the ground. Yes. But so like the Space Needle in Gatlinburg. I could go up on that mother, no problem, no issue whatsoever. Now I wouldn't go near it, honestly. I don't even like to go in near the arcade that's down below it,
Nope.
But at the same time, what I'm asking is in your mind, what are you thinking when you're just thinking of that air whipping by you essentially, and you're like, okay, this might hurt a little, but
no, I really don't try to think about it. You do want to, like, especially if you're up in the balcony and you're trying to judge where the table's at and shit. I mean, you don't want to I hate it when they're looking. Okay, am I good? Okay, I'll go now. You got to make it look like it's part of the fall, and so that's the challenge on something like that. Like, that was a hard bump that I took out of the balcony one time backwards out of the fairgrounds balcony through a table because of the fact that I'm looking back and I'm trying to judge where one table is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
go, man. And like, for me, in saying that, you got to go and you got to make it look like you're not doing it to yourself.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing, because, it almost just looked like a stunt fall with Mix, coming off that Hell in a Cell, because he just kind of manipulates his body a bit to turn, and then he lets gravity take over, and he just lands like through the table, and people are like, the table was worse. I can't believe he hit the table. Why would he? And I was like, you want him to just hit the flat ground? That would be so much worse. Yeah.
Could have potentially killed him.
Yeah, literally. I mean, it would be horrible. You couldn't control yourself.
No.
So anyway, yeah, but I know we got to that from the Rey Mysterios and the Mill Maskers, but this has been fun, man. I enjoyed talking about masks today. Yeah. So I hope y'all enjoyed it. That was
always like the mask gimmicks, like I said, and we could have done the top 20 for sure.
We definitely could.
There was another one that I thought of, but I haven't seen him enough. But I just know I've seen the mask. Is that guy Luchasaurus? I think is really neat too.
Yeah, dude, exactly. I wish they could do something with him. It just seems like, because he's actually pretty talented. I mean, I think he's got some martial arts abilities, or he seems to, but it just seems like he's kind of in that deal with his ex-partner Jungle Boy, and they're just kind of fighting with each other and doing nothing really, and
I really wanted to put, I said it as a joke, but I really wanted to put Rough and Ready on there just because of the fact that they were like, and they're like the conquistadors, they're kind of like the mass job guys or whatever, but you still know their fucking names. I'm so surprised at how many people remember Rough and Ready. I think that's hilarious.
I mean, dude, but it's a memorable gimmick, It was a memorable thing. So I had a few honorable mentions I wanted to say. So Kato, our boy Kato from, of course we had him on as Paul Diamond, but he was Kato for his big run. Quang, another, Savio Vega, he's been on the show, so we got to throw him out. I did put
was he a mask, or was he was face paint, wasn't he?
It was a mask. Yeah, it was a mask. Yeah, it was like it was just like a Japanese looking kind of mask, but it was definitely.
I thought it was paint.
Yeah.
Else.
Yeah. Then I had Mill Maskers on the honorable mentions, which is ridiculous if you think about it. But and Blue Blazer, obviously, rest in peace. Yeah. And anyway, those are some honorable mentions that I had, just to kind of throw their names on the list. Again, like you said, we could have easily done a 20 and had no problem with it. But one thing I always like to leave room for at the end, you know what I'm going to say, right? Right.
About some current affairs.
I like how what was that again? You put a little, never mind. DJ, hit the music.
It's a current affair. It's a current affair. Love it in color. It's a current affair. Love it in color.
All right, we're back with current affairs, and today we've got a few funny, interesting current affairs. I know these are like dragging you over glass sometimes, but we'll go ahead and start with this one. The biggest one, well, one of the biggest ones is Bret Hart has recently been, Bret, God love him. He's definitely one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, but man, he comes off grouchy, and I think he's really bitter. And I mean, he holds a grudge like nobody's business, man.
Yeah. Man, I've been around Brett just a little bit, and he does have kind of a demeanor like that, but he's a nice guy from what I've, had any talkings with him, anything like that. He's a nice guy. And you got to remember how he came up, man. He came up old school as fuck, getting stretched in his daddy's basement. And, then when people are not respective of the business and he was damn good. He's one of the best ever.
Totally.
And I don't know if it's that he feels like he didn't get the recognition he deserves, but I don't understand why. Fuck, everybody knows who Bret Hart is,
Totally. Well, here's what he's saying right now. So obviously we know he carried a horrible grudge against Vince and Shawn. Now, whether that was a work or whether that was legit, either way, here his newest grudge, and again, this is a continuation from what ended his career, but he's calling for WWE to remove Goldberg from the Hall of Fame, saying that Barry Horowitz is more deserving as he could actually wrestle.
Yeah, that's just the old school in him, man. Goldberg is not a good wrestler. We know this.
Right. We know that.
He was right place, right time, had the intensity, the power, and like I walked by on the way to the ring, we walked by his dressing room, and it was, one of those buildings with the painted concrete bricks or whatever. And some bitch is beating his fucking head on the wall trying to get hyped up. I'm like, motherfucker, man, on a fucking concrete wall. Come on, man.
Yeah. Seriously. Did they not have a good pre-workout that he could use to do that down or something? But
much of it, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that was it. But golly, that's funny because I wonder how many concussions he gave himself.
I don't know.
He busted that window out of that limousine one time and severed an artery on his arm. Yeah. He did a lot of things to himself, but maybe that's just a football player in him. I've never been the biggest fan of Goldberg, but I definitely respect what he did and where he came from. But with that being said, I think Brett's still sore about the, stiff kick that he gave him that caused him to have a concussion that led to Jeff Jarrett coming in the ring and giving him the stroke. No, I'm just kidding. He had a stroke in real life. And I've been waiting for years to use that joke. So anyway, he's calling for Goldberg. It's never going to happen. And unfortunately, probably never going to happen. Barry in the Hall of Fame too. But hey, God love Barry and Reno and Iron Mike Sharp and all those guys, Okay. All right. So my next one, I've been waiting to talk to you about this one because once I heard about it. So, we've talked about AEW possibly going to their own streaming network, having their own thing, or going to HBO Max, which seems more likely now. Well, not only are they not really doing great in the wrestling business, but now they're going to try to branch out to the reality show business. Okay. So I'm going to read this article.
All right.
So Discovery Plus, the company that owns AEW, mentioned in a press conference recently, they plan on producing shows for AEW that doesn't necessarily involve wrestling. Below is a list of shows they have recently been approved for production. So these are approved. These aren't just pipe dreams. Okay.
Right.
All right, Walls of Jericho. The legendary Hall of Fame wrestler Chris Jericho and his construction crew find old beat-down homes and turn them into must-buy properties. Tell me this shit doesn't sound made up.
Well, how many home improvement shows do we need, especially with wrestlers on them?
We need one with Chris Jericho, apparently. Yeah. So that one is the first one. The next one is called Ass House.
God. What is that?
Ass House. It's Austin Colton and Billy Gunn give you an inside look of their loving but dysfunctional family. You never know who might scissor by the ass house as well. So do you know about this gimmick they're calling it's Scissor Me Daddy Ass? Are you familiar with that?
I had no idea why I kept seeing that word so much. So no, you probably have to explain it to me.
So there's
scissoring is, but I don't know what they're doing with it.
There's a tag team called The Acclaimed, okay? And one of the guys comes out rapping. He's a pretty good rapper. He writes words that are current topics, and he'll talk about something funny, and he's pretty good at it. Basically, they started this gimmick where they are doing their fingers like scissors, like, and Danhausen started calling Billy Gunn's kids the ass boys because Billy Gunn had a song called I'm a Nice Man. Right. Anyway, and so Billy Gunn is the ass man, so he has two ass boys. And then Danhausen created that, and then the Acclaim took it over and said now they're saying scissor me daddy ass. And yeah, it is apparently very popular right now. Again, I'm not saying over.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the ass house. So here's the next one. Shooting with the Bucks. Nick and Matt Jackson trade their wrestling tights and Jordan shoes for deer stands and rifles. Traveling across America with professional hunters. Will Nick and Matt kill the perfect 10-point buck? I don't buy that for shit, dude. I'm sorry. I don't see those two dudes as hunters. Do you?
Who would be making this stuff up if you say it's been approved? Who would be bullshitting on this? I mean,
I don't know, bro.
Where could you make this up at?
I don't know, bro. I mean, it's like you and Jamie going to watch only PG-13 movies, It's watch the travels of Wolfie D and Jamie Dundee as they watch only PG. Anyway, it's horrible. All right, Ramen and Riho, lovable and cute Riho travels across Japan to find the perfect bowl of ramen. Dude, that's a YouTube show at best. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Here's another one. All right, they keep going, man. So Jim Ross, Grilling for Love. The best commentator in the history of wrestling is looking to settle down and find love. Jim will live with 20 beautiful women fighting for his hand, and one lucky lady will make Oklahoma's favorite son her husband.
Come on, man. Really?
By God. He's broken her in half.
To me, is the hardest one to swallow.
I know, bro. That's like, the Flavor of Love and the Rock of Love and the Bachelor. I'm just, wow. And, like he did tragically lose his wife in Italy, I think on a Vespa accident or something. And it's sad, man, but golly, I don't know, dude. Wrestling is crazy sometimes. Okay. and here's the last one. All right. And this one is just ridiculous. Okay. The Golden Hot Dog. It's a reality-based show that places 15 indie wrestlers in a competition to win $1,000 and a contract on AEW Dark. Who will prevail with the Golden Hot Dog?
So it's a play on the handshake and a hot dog payoff.
Yes, exactly. And who's going to get that? I mean, what?
I actually could see that one probably before any of the rest of them, maybe. But
yeah, again, dude, I don't see that as a show though. I see it maybe as a YouTube thing, Yeah. But and it's actually just for a contract for AEW Dark, which is their YouTube show. It's not actually one of their cable-based shows. Wow. I mean, maybe one of those works, and hey, good for them. But my God, that was like 6 or 7 there. That just what? I'm sorry.
I'm thinking. Some of these dudes got to be doing some dope, man. Because there's some shit coming up that's like, whoa.
I'm saying we need to
not
get
just what you just said today, but just some of the other issues and all that kind of stuff. It's just like, what are these motherfuckers doing? And watch it. I ain't gonna say that it'll. Well, Randy said it would go out of business. I don't know, how much money this dude wants to pump into it, but how long have I been telling you? When the marks get into business and they got money. Then they start wanting to bring their friends in, and now he's just a mark for these guys. And
totally,
it happens every fucking time, dude.
That's why he has zero control over them, because he's a fan of them, and you can't. I mean, it's like I'm sorry. It's the only the only thing I will say is I think he is very, and I mean very wealthy. So I don't even know that his pockets I don't even think Vince's pockets are that deep. I could be wrong, because here's the thing. He's got his dad, who's Shah Khan, and that's where he's getting his money from. And basically, he has said that he wants his family to spend as much money as possible while they're alive and enjoy themselves, because it's no use to him. He's like a very generous, wealthy person, you know? Yeah. So I'm saying hire Wolfie as an agent. Why don't we do that? Let's start with that, okay? And then when Wolfie finally drops out because he can't handle the idiot. No, I'm just kidding. But when he gets his last, we'll take that into consideration, and he smacks one of them. Yeah. Anyway, speaking of grouchy wrestlers who get tired of the backstage politics and shit, CM Punk. This is our final current affair, I promise.
Yeah.
CM Punk, it's essentially done deal now. They're saying not only is the buyout going to happen of his contract, he is also pretty much done with wrestling and not considering any kind of other promotion. You know, honestly, the only, you know, so yeah.
Do you remember the reaction of everyone the first night he came back?
Yeah.
That really didn't last that long, did it?
Did not.
They were trying to say Road Warrior Pop and all this shit. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Road Warrior Pop lasted well into their later year, LOD 2000. You know what I'm saying? They were still getting that Road Warrior Pop.
And like I said, I knew the dude early on. Very loosely knew him, and I don't really know that much about the guy, man. So I don't know. Maybe he is just a dick. Nobody likes him. I don't know.
Well, okay. Let me just ask you this, because I feel like I may have. But was he respectful to you and other people, as far as you could tell?
That I can remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to remember, it's me, Brian. Or Sin or whoever was with us at that point. And he had Raven in his corner.
Yeah.
So he didn't have to do anything, you know. Raven's going to get what he needs in, you know, and probably halfway booking the angle, I think. And so, yeah, there wasn't that opportunity for him.
Yeah. Well, I was just curious because, you know, to me, if you saw any signs of any of that, because let me ask you this, and please, if you don't want to talk, were you partying pretty hard around that time that you knew him?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, what was it?
But we was only wrestling once a week, so it's not like on the road, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, gotcha. So it was all you kind of went on to do your own thing after that.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. So the thing is the reason I'm asking this is because CM Punk is a well-known straight edge. And honestly, to me, straight edge people, if somebody's listening that's straight edge, I respect your ability to abstain from all of these things. But with that being said, y'all seem like the most grouchy people I've ever known in my life. I've known from the music scene that I used to be involved in, there was a scene of straight edge kids that were very tyrannical about the way that they were. And if I was on stage having a beer, they were going to turn their back on our band because they didn't think we were living up to their needs or whatever. And I was just curious if maybe if it was known that you drank or partied a little bit or whatever, you know.
Very sure of that.
Yeah. And I mean, with that being said, I can see him being a dick. Even though he may respect you as a wrestler, he may be a dick to you because you don't live this rigid lifestyle, you know.
I never really saw anything like that coming from him. But again, he was like super young then. I don't think he had. I think TNA might have been his first little deal. You know what I'm saying?
Totally. Yeah.
Then it was right after that he went somewhere else, and then WWE, right?
Ring of Honor. He was always doing the IWA Mid-South stuff, and then he goes TNA, then Ring of Honor, and then he ends up in WWE. Yeah. So, and he was like that indie darling. You know what I mean? That one.
I do recall that. Recall that about him.
Yeah.
That's
so
what I got from it. Yeah.
Yeah. But, hey, CM Punk wrestled in a mask for a little bit. It was actually kind of a cool mask. So, but, anyway, we'll go on with that. But yeah, Bret Hart wanting Goldberg out, AEW's ridiculous reality ideas, and CM Punk is out of AEW.
I will be anxious to see if those shows come to fruition.
Yeah, we might do a watch along. I'm just kidding.
Hey, I definitely have to watch it. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe just once, but
yeah, maybe just once, but yeah. Well, anyway, that's it for current affairs today. Thank y'all for listening.
Yeah, man. Appreciate y'all once again. Tune in next week. Live in color, Wolfie D.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Chic, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
That's right, it's the talk of Middle Tennessee, the channel you love to hate and the channel you hate to love. It's Brian Turner from Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. And if you're looking for matches from Wolfie D to Jerry Lawler to Dusty Rhodes and the team that put a pimp before your eyes and a goatee between your thighs, Booty Call and Athena, go to lostwrestling.com. See, I made it easy for you. Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. Booyah.
Hey everyone, this is Shane from Insane Shane's World. I release wrestling figures of enhancement talent, mid-card wrestlers, and wrestlers that you never thought would have a figure available. So if you are interested in adding a really cool and rare figure to your collection, then don't hesitate to contact me at shamtheman73@gmail.com. That's SHAMtheman73@gmail.com. You can also join my Facebook group. Just search Insane Shane's World.
If you're a fan of rock and music, I'd really appreciate it if you took a moment to check out my podcast. It's called the Decibel Geek Podcast. We've been doing it for about 10 years now. We talk about Kiss. We talk about Ozzy. We talk about Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses and Metallica. We talk about all the legends from the 60s and on, up to brand new bands that you should be hearing about today that you're not going to hear on the radio. It's Decibel Geek. Wherever you find your podcasts, you'll find us there. If you love rock and roll, I can almost guarantee you're going to love my show.
If you're a pro wrestling fan, there's something for everyone at the Cheap Heat TV Podcast Network. From the Pro Wrestling Discussion Show, Cheap Heat TV Live, to the interview show, the Jackson Interaction Podcast with the king of all wrestling media, Gene Jackson, to the silliness of the Whitey Jenkins Show, and the brand new Zip, Xander's Irresistible Podcast with Charles Anders. You can check them all out and much more over at cheapheattvlive.com.
So that was another great episode. Hey, Wolfie, tell them where they can find you on social media.
Jimmy, they can find me in the club, bottle full of bub. I'm just kidding. They can find me on Facebook. My personal page is Warren Wolf, WOLFE. I'm on Instagram at Warren Wolf 13.
You can always find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Live Wolfie D. Here's the thing. Wolfie always has offers for his autographed photos. He has a selection of some awesome photos from throughout his career that he will autograph and personalize any way that you want him to. Just contact him either directly at his personal Facebook page or through any one of our other pages, and we'll make sure you get in contact
contact directly with Wolfie. Get those photos, right, Wolfie? Yeah, I've got some good stuff on there, to help with the podcast. Folks, if you can't get out to a show to meet Wolfie D, there's nothing like that, especially for the fans of PG-13 and Wolfie D. And before we go, you can always find me, your host, Jimmy Street, at James Rock Street on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And hey, Jimmy, before we go real quick, I just want to add in there, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate, first of all, the work you've done for this podcast. You have worked your butt off. Secondly, the people that are liking the page. Beyond that, even more, is the people that are listening, and we really appreciate that. Yeah, and remember, guys, the podcast drops a new episode every Monday at noon, and our past episodes are streaming now on demand on all major podcast formats. Thanks again.
I got a cap for your dome. He got a cap for your dome. I got a cap for your dome. He got a cap for your dome. He got a cap for your dome.
And here we go, the original white boy that came out sagging, not bragging, don't be hating, cause I'm spitting the truth, still livin' in color, from Rush your mother, utilize a hubcap, unlike any other. Back in the day, I was N-O-D, and I was P to the G, plus the 1 and the 3, in case you forgot, they call me Wolfie D, been cloned and copied so many times, tired of suckers taking credit for what is mine. You know who you are without me name dropping. Wrestling's first white boy coming out hip hopping. Been doing it like this since '92. Laid low for a while and you thought I was through. Listen real close to these rhymes that I've injected. This shit's so sick it makes your ears get infected. Mad skills, no faking, there is no one great. Cause I'm bringing more folks than Obi-Wan or Vader. Not here to play games, so you better beware. You don't like me, so what? I really don't care. Like time I keep ticking and I can't be stopped. You sucker step to the side unless you wanna get dropped. With my finish, I'll straight knock you out. Please allow me to tell you what it's all about. I'm gonna wind it up, then I'm driving it home. It's Wolfie D, baby. I got a cap for your dome. I got a cap for your dome.
We got a cap for your dome. We got a cap for your dome.
This has been a James Rock Street production.